of a sudden, again, white people started moving to India and changing what Indian culture is. Like, you've already complained about Indian culture becoming too westernized.
Yeah, but that's, again,
and Japanese people started coming and then making it a little more Japanese. Like,
I'm going to cut you off because India got imperialized, got conquered. India was supposed to have an entirely different trajectory. It got robbed, pillaged. Now I have a sensitivity to it. England didn't get imperialized.
Andrew Schulz clashes with comedian Akaash Singh and his panel over immigration and its consequences in this clip, as Andrew Schulz makes a valid point about protecting culture and identity to this Akaash Singh guy, and his rebuttal is rather ridiculous, as you'll see before the rest step in. But I like the fact that comedians like Andrew Schulz aren't afraid to have a real conversation about this topic, because while it may be controversial, it matters to everybody, whether they know it or not. So let's check it out.
I don't know if you believe that. Because if all of a sudden, again, white people started moving to India and changing what Indian culture is. Like, you've already complained about Indian culture becoming too westernized.
Yeah, but that's, again,
and Japanese people started coming and then making it a little more Japanese. Like,
I'm going to cut you off because India got imperialized, got conquered. India was supposed to have an entirely different trajectory. It got robbed, pillaged, raped, fucked. Now I have a sensitivity to it. England didn't get imperialized, robbed, pillaged, raped, fucked by any of these foreigners for sure coming in. No Indian country.
That's not true, but
you're bringing in Indians when you have the British Empire for sure.
But I mean, like, of course, the Roman Empire conquered them. I mean,
not by the people that you don't like. He doesn't have a problem with Italians coming over.
No, he does.
He has a problem with Italians.
Yeah. So
you think those guys that are rioting?
He's saying each country, like, if Italians came and made England Italian, he has an issue with it. He doesn't like the no border policy. He doesn't. So he's like, every country that fought for their identity should be able to uphold that identity.
The people he's defending, they don't have a problem with Italians. The people he's saying, I understand where they're coming from and sympathizing with.
But I'm not going to argue on them.
But that's who he's supporting. Defending.
Sure. What I'm just saying, I hear what you're saying. But his argument about a nation being able to fight for its identity, and if it doesn't, by not accepting large amounts of immigrants, they're looked at as racist. I don't know if they should be looked at as racist. If the idea of fighting that war was to preserve the English identity, and accepting large groups of people from other countries is naturally going to chip away at that singular identity. I understand the logic behind it.
That could be one of the many emotions, but I do think there's some racism involved, in the same way that, like, they're not going to be upset at the Italian restaurant opening up in their neighborhood.
You've made that argument. I'm not saying that. I'm making.
And this is just to what I'm saying earlier. That's a great premise. I can't find a ton of holes in it. A comedian has a great premise. You can't just find the holes in it.
Right.
It's fun. But we both know at the end of the day, this is not like a real thing this person believes, or you should know.
See, I don't like getting into those arguments where it's like, we're going to assume what they really mean. Like, I'm just trying to have the argument based on, like, the words that are said, which is, does Hawaii have the ability to maintain their Hawaiian culture? And when Western culture starts to come in, or even Japanese culture, where these other cultures start to chip away at the Hawaiian identity, do they have the right to be frustrated with that, or are they racist?
Yeah, like, I get Andrew Schulz. He's just making a very simple argument. Very simple. Does a nation have a right to protect its culture and its identity with borders, which is the whole purpose of what those borders are there for? We live this way, you live that way. So we got our space, you got our space, and we can coexist in this way. I don't like the argument of this Akaash Singh guy, if I'm saying his name right, constantly trying to bring it back. Oh, well, this person did this, or this person's supporting that. That has nothing to do. That's always a cop-out. A lot of people on the left will use arguments like that. Oh, you're supporting so-and-so. No, I'm arguing the point. I'm arguing the principle of the point of what I am talking about. Like, all sorts of people of all sorts of backgrounds have a lot more commonalities than they have differences. At least I believe. But there's always going to be overlap. I mean, if you wanted to use that argument, you would not support anybody ever all the time. So it doesn't actually work. But it's just a simple argument. Do we have the right to protect ourselves? And I would say yes, personally. That's why, French is for French, and Italy is for Italy, and Germany is for Germans. It's the whole reason of why you have borders is to establish how we live as opposed to other people. If you don't have borders, you don't have that. I mean, you can let me know in the comments what you think, folks, but I think Andrew Schulz is asking a very simple question that the other guy doesn't want to seem too in line to, go along with. Maybe he would feel differently if he had a strong identity, national or otherwise. But yeah, I mean, I think we should. But let me know in the comments if you think we should. Leave a like. Let's get back in.
When they're frustrated.
Yeah, but again, you're talking about a colonized place that was in, like, that's where the difference is.
Okay,
it just
remove
is different.
colonization. Like,
But
do a thought experiment. Just do a thought experiment.
Hey, yeah, as a thought experiment, if they had never been colonized, don't worry about it.
Everybody's been colonized, so that cancels out everybody.
I mean, they're still colonized, like right now.
Okay. This is why these things are so difficult. It's really hard to just even hypothetically discuss it.
Like, if Mexico got mad at a bunch of Americans moving in, I would honestly be like, it's just country changes. Like, Mexico has been its own country for a long time. Country changes. It's not Indians moving into England where it's like, well, we have to come here because you actively took all of our jewels. They're still in your fucking palace. So I have more opportunity here. I'm coming.
You think those jewels are doing anything?
India was a wealthy...
Jewels are going to help 2 billion. I hate this revisionist history where India was wealthy and then now India all of a sudden they're broke.
Yeah. How is that now all of a sudden? Like, what are you even talking about?
I mean, look at Africa. Like, they took all their resources and Africa's still a poor continent.
I mean, like, I just know that you don't have anything to substantiate that. So it's like, there's no way to... We're living in like a world where like there's no way to prove the trajectory would have gone completely positive. There could have been infighting.
I don't know if it would have been positive. I don't know if it would have been completely positive, but it would have been. I said it was just completely different trajectory. I didn't say it was worse.
Right.
Completely different trajectory that they did not have control of.
In that situation with Mexico, like, I would totally understand if Mexico was like, hey, I don't want you chipping away at our culture. Like,
I think that is happening a little bit. I think some Mexicans are mad at the, like, El Salvadorians, like, come up and, like, they take over, like, little enclaves or something. I was talking about Mexican buddy. He's like, yeah, like, there's, like, they have, like, immigrants that are moving through and they get annoyed by it. I don't know if it's all of Mexico. I doubt it.
And again, we're different in especially like New York because this is part of our identity. We've had these different groups of people that we've fully embraced coming in here and becoming part of the fabric of what it is to be an American from the beginning. Even when we went west, there's Mexicans, there's Native Americans, there's always all these different people. Even when we're uniting the country, we were colonies of different countries, so there are different cultures for us to even handle. You go down to New Orleans and there's like French speakers. Like, there's just all this different stuff that we've had to deal with. So this is our idea of what a country is.
Some of these scoop the bagel ass people, like they.
That's me. I'm a scoop the bagel.
Get the fuck out of here.
That's racist.
Get those people out of there.
But so I do think we're projecting our idea of like acceptance on other countries that are just like, hey, listen, we've worked thousands of years to curate this identity, and we don't want to water that identity down.
Yeah, again, I think Andrew Schulz is making a fair point. And the one Akaash Singh guy, like, he's still hung up on everybody being a colonizer and everybody. Everyone's going to be a victim of something terrible. It's just a matter of how far back you go. That's all it is. If you go far enough back, you're going to find somewhere in your past, someone's done something terrible. Like, it's not going to change anything moving forward. That's the problem. Like, these people don't live to make a better world. They just live to whine and complain about what happened, yesterday or last week. But it's an easy question. And folks, I would also say, like, your identity, the way you live, your values, your customs, your traditions, this is who a people are. Like, this is how we treat each other. This is how we talk to each other. I mean, when they've had all this mass immigration in Europe, I mean, all of a sudden, all their cities went from safe to all of a sudden now there's all sorts of grapes happening all over their city. I mean, now it's such an issue that these countries are now turning around and saying, nope, we're done. You got to go. Like, this isn't working out. Because when 95% of all the problems are now coming from this one people that you've imported in mass because they don't understand the culture, they don't understand how to live. And for better or worse, they just don't agree with you. They just live a different way. Like, Muslims live a different lifestyle than liberals in California. Like radically different lifestyles. So When they get into government, they're going to want different rules and different bills that are passed, and that transforms where you live. So your culture, I mean, everything runs downward from culture. So if you import a new, huge, massive culture, well, maybe your home isn't the same home that you once thought it was. And that's what's really at risk on the table. But I'm at least glad that Andrew Schulz and some other people can have this conversation because, folks, we need to. It is important and it does matter. But, folks, let me know in the comments what you thought about what Andrew Schulz had to say about this topic, along with the rest of the panel. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.